Hello students, welcome to StudyIQ. In this session, we are going to continue with our discussion on history. So we have stopped up till Lord Hadinge. Okay, so in this session, we are going to talk about the period between 1848 to 1856. So we have discussed up till 1848. Okay, so here we will discuss about this period 1848 to 56. So here basically we are going to discuss about the Governor General Lord Dalhousie. Okay, so in this session we will be covering the Governor General Lord Dalhousie. A lot of important events are there, so we will see all the important events. Now if you remember, I have told you right from the beginning there are some Governor Generals who are considered very important from both prelims and mains point of view, right? We have seen Lord Cornwallis, Lord Warren Hastings, Lord Wellesley, Lord Dalhousie, okay, Lord William Bentinck, Lord Canning, Lord Ripon, Lord Lytton, Lord Curzon, Lord Mountbatten. All these are very important Governor Generals both from prelims and mains point of view. So we have to discuss all the facts and all the important events during their time. Okay, so here we are going to talk about Dalhousie, one of the most important Governor General, and I will give you a question which was asked in 2013 mains. The question which was asked is, Dalhousie in all probable course could be called as father of modern India. Comment. Okay, so this is a very important question and you can actually have very good answer if you know about Dalhousie properly. So you can support also, if you want to you can criticize, and it's up to you. It is about the, it's all about, ultimately it's all about the presenting the facts, right? What all things Dalhousie did, and then you can see whether it is positive or negative, whether it is intentional or unintentional, or can we call him as father of modern India or not. But currently if you see who's known as father of modern India, Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Now I don't want you to make a comparison between Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Lord Dalhousie. If you make a comparison, obviously Dalhousie's side will have more weightage, because what all things which have been done by Dalhousie, whether it is intentional or unintentional is a different question, but it will definitely much more than what is the contribution of Raja Ram Mohan Roy to the society. This is not a biased opinion, it's all based on the facts and figures. Okay, so here we have already done all those discussion. So if you missed out my videos, or if you are watching this video for the first time, please consider subscribing the channel StudyIQ. And apart from that, you can join the Telegram channel here. This is my Telegram channel, Zia Safir. My name is Safir. So you can join the Telegram channel. You will get all my videos over there. And if you have any doubt, you can get in touch with me. This is my Instagram ID, or this is my Facebook ID. Okay, so you will get all my videos over there in the Telegram channel. If you have missed out, I have done hundreds of videos in history, again in economy, quantitative aptitude, around 125-130 videos I have done. Okay, you will see my post-independence videos, ethics videos, and then if you are sociology optional student, then you can see the sociology videos also. So everything is actually there in the Telegram channel. Consider subscribing the Telegram channel also. You will get everything which is required for this preparation. Okay, and apart from that, if you need to join any formal program with me, the answer writing sessions or the mains test series session in GS or optional, or the live classes that I am conducting, okay, so you can get in touch with me here. This is my number, 9790-892-697, for a mentorship program or answer writing program or anything. Apart from that, the online classes are available with the StudyIQ app itself. You can download the StudyIQ app. The smart courses are available over a lot of subjects, and a lot of courses are available. Okay, so this is my case. If you want to, you can contact me here, any formal program. Otherwise you will get all the videos over here. Okay, so let's continue with the discussion. So I was talking about comparison between Lord Dalhousie and Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, so here there is no point in making such comparison in your answer, but I will make a comparison here for making you to understand the importance of Dalhousie, and then we will proceed with the discussion of Dalhousie. So on one side, if you take Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and on the other side, if I am talking about Lord Dalhousie, I have seen many students are commenting on my video that you should not call them lords, etc. So it's up to me. If I wish to call when I'm in a public platform, whatever I want to, I will do that. Okay, so if you are not interested in, you don't want to attend the class. Now Raja Ram Mohan Roy, if you see Raja Ram Mohan Roy, what is the most important contribution? We talk about sati in case of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So but who's the actual person who stopped sati, or who's the person who come up with the anti-sati resolution? It is not Raja Ram Mohan Roy. It is a person who's in powerful position can do that, right? So it was actually done by the then Governor General Lord William Bentinck. Okay, so who did this? It is Lord William Bentinck. Although Raja Ram Mohan Roy had put a lot of effort, I'm not denying that fact. From the Indian side there were a lot of efforts, but who did it? The then Governor General. But opposite to that, if you talk about Lord Dalhousie, when we talk about Dalhousie, similar to that is Widow Remarriage Act, right? But who's the person who implemented it? It is implemented by Lord Dalhousie. Although Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was part of it, okay, but here what role exactly did by Rajaram Mohan Roy? The same role is did by Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. The role did by Lord William Bentinck is done by Lord Dalhousie. So Dalhousie only passed this act so that, you know, widow remarriage is allowed now. Then here it is the Lord William Bentinck who passed the resolution, so that anti-sati resolution was passed, and based on that sati became a culpable homicide not amounting to murder, and a maximum imprisonment of 10 years of rigorous imprisonment was actually given. Maximum punishment of 10 years of rigorous imprisonment was actually given for those who instigate the female to commit suicide. So here, if you see here, who's dominating? Obviously the person who implemented it. Rajaram Mohan Roy did not implement, but Dalhousie implemented it. Okay, now that is one side. Second, if you talk about education, I can talk about some contribution of education in Rajaram Mohan Roy, but nothing specific. We can talk about Hindu college, his contribution, and his also contribution of literature, or his contribution in the press. Okay, beyond this, what all things you can write in Rajaram Mohan Roy? You can say Rajaram Mohan Roy is the first among Indians who started thinking rationally, logically, with scientific temper, etc. Apart from that, when you come to the facts and figures, beyond this, it is very limited. But when we talk about Dalhousie, education itself, if we talk about the most important one, on something which is considered as Magna Carta of modern Indian education, the one which changed the entire Indian education setup and the system, that is Wood's Dispatch. So here we just compared these two aspects only. One is sati and one is widow remarriage. So here Dalhousie is dominating. Here also Dalhousie is dominating. But remember, in exam I don't want to make this comparison. In exam I only want to tell the facts which is related to Dalhousie, and I will answer from my side based on the facts which is in front of me. I may say that Rajaram Mohan Roy, we don't want to even talk about Rajaram Mohan Roy in the answer. That is not asked in the question. So we can say Dalhousie may be called as father of modern India with respect to the contribution that he have done. In fact, he is called as father of modern India also. So Wood's Dispatch. Then apart from that, you can talk about most important one, railways. Now any contribution of Rajaram Mohan Roy will not stand in front of railways if you think objectively, because it connected India, and in fact this is one of the most important reason why nationalism emerged among Indians. Okay, and that is the reason why we got independence from the English. India united. Okay, so this is one of the most important contribution. Apart from that, post and telegraph, the communication. Okay, post and telegraph communication. So if you consider all these, compared to Rajaram Mohan Roy, Dalhousie is much more important and significant and could be called as father of modern India. But in your answer, you don't want to specifically mention about Rajaram Mohan Roy. You don't want to make any comparison, and you don't want to tell one is superior over the other. The relative superiority and inferiority is meaningless, because one person having all the power, the other from Indian side. Okay, so it is obviously limitations are there. So that is why you don't want to make a comparison. You need to talk about the facts about Dalhousie, and you can come up with a conclusion without being an Indian or English, without having any biased opinion, without being a Hindu or a Muslim, without being a male or a female, without being a North Indian or South Indian. Come up with an objective interpretation of the particular question which is asked based on the facts only. So this is what you are supposed to do in this particular question. So Dalhousie could be called as father of modern India with respect to his contribution. There may be controversies like doctrine of lapse, okay, Santhal rebellion, annexation of Awadh. We will also discuss about the contribution. So here in this session, the objective is I'm going to cover all those controversies, and apart from that, the good things which are done by Dalhousie. But the question is whether it is intentional or unintentional. That is a different question altogether. Okay, so we will try to address that also. So first we will start with doctrine of lapse, and I'm sure that most of you know this. You have studied it from the 8th standard onwards, what is doctrine of lapse. But what is required for this exam, whether you know it from the exam point of view, is a different question. You might be knowing that doctrine of lapse is a policy which was introduced by Dalhousie to annex different states, right? We have discussed about Lord Hastings time onwards. The policy is actually changed. Till then they were happy with whatever area they had from till 1813 Charter Act. But 1813 Charter Act, end of monopoly. So now more and more companies are started coming. So they need political control in India, because they are in need of markets to sell their products, and they are in need of raw material. For these two reasons, they need more political control in India, so they started capturing more and more areas now. So they changed their policy, and you have seen the Anglo-Maratha War. Marathas were completely crushed. Peshwa Bajirao II was sent to Vittur. All those things we have actually discussed in the previous session. So here you see Dalhousie also changed the policy, that is what doctrine of lapse. So under doctrine of lapse, if a king do not have a direct hire, the state will be annexed under British territory, and the king will not be allowed to nominate the adopted son as the successor. So you need to have a direct hire. You will not be allowed to nominate the adopted son as the successor. Okay, so that is actually what you know, but is it applicable to all the states, or is it applicable to certain category of state? That is what we are going to discuss here. Otherwise there is no question of discussing doctrine of lapse. Okay, so here let me tell you, it is applicable to certain category of states and not all the states. So let's try to understand what are those states where doctrine of lapse is applicable and where it is not applicable, and that will be the demand of the UPSC exam. Okay, so here if you see under this, so let me write it. What is it? Okay, under this, the states which did not have a direct hire will be annexed, and the state does not recognize the adopted son as the successor. Okay, but you need to understand what it is not applicable to all the states. There are three different categories of states, so we will try to categorize the states. First I'll write down the different categories and then I'll explain. Okay, or one by one we will explain. So the first category is states which were neither part of Mughals nor Marathas nor even paying taxes to them. Okay, so the states, the first category is the states which were neither part of Mughal, the states which were not part of Mughals, they are nor part of Marathas, neither part of Mughal nor Marathas, and not paying taxes to them also. Remember, there are certain states which were not part of Mughals and Marathas, but they may pay tax to them. So here, not part of Mughals, not part of Marathas, not paying taxes also. So these are completely independent, so they are allowed to nominate anyone as the successor. Okay, so they are free to nominate anyone as a successor. Even if you don't have a direct hire, there is no problem. You are free to nominate anyone as a successor. Direct son, indirect son, legal son, illegal son, it doesn't matter. You can adopt, no problem. You can nominate anyone as a successor. But remember, I am talking about which area. So here I am basically talking about the northeastern part or the central part of India, where mostly the tribals are living. Neither the Mughals were interested nor the Marathas were interested. The Britishers are also not interested. Okay, so I've told you they are expanding their territory for two reasons. They need raw materials and they need markets. For example, if you see why Anglo-Maratha war was fought, they are in need of Deccan region. Why? If a cotton factory is established in England, they are in need of cotton. So they can get cotton from US or India or Egypt. US already got independence, so they have to depend on India to get the cotton. So what I'm saying is the areas which benefited them the most, and they started annexing those areas. You can see in this there is a pattern there. Okay, so these areas which are mainly tribal areas, they are not interested. Okay, so neither the Mughals nor the Marathas nor the British also interested over there. So I hope you've done that. Then the second category is the states which either pay tax to Mughals or Marathas or were part of either of them. See, this is the second category state. First category, they are not part of Mughals, Marathas, not paying taxes. Okay, I've told you, you can nominate anyone as a successor. Second category, the states which either pay taxes to Mughals or Marathas or they are part of Mughals or Marathas. So this is the second category of state. So in this category, what you need to do is, in case if you need to nominate an adopted son as a successor, you need to write a letter to the Governor General and you have to get the permission from the Governor General. So here also actually doctrine of lapse is not applicable. Once you write a letter, you are seeking the permission and you will be granting the permission. Automatically it will be granted. Okay. So in this case also doctrine of lapse is not applicable. So first category of state, doctrine of lapse is not applicable. Second category of state, doctrine of lapse is not applicable. Now what is the third category of state? The states which were created under British Charter. Okay. So the third category, states which were created under British Charter. So this kinds of states, the states which were created under British Charter, they have no right to adopt. They can adopt, but they cannot nominate the adopted son as the successor. So doctrine of lapse is applicable in the states only, the states which were created under the British Charter. So once again, I'll tell you what are the three categories of states. The first is the states which were neither part of Mughals nor part of Marathas nor paying taxes to any of them. So they are remaining totally independent. So doctrine of lapse is not applicable there. Second is the states which were either paying taxes to Mughals or Marathas or were part of either of them. Those states have to write a letter to the Governor General and it will be granted automatically. So hence doctrine of lapse is not applicable there also. The third category is what I am saying, that the states which were created under British Charter, here the doctrine of lapse is applicable. Okay. So now what you need to know is the states which became the victims of this policy. The state became the victims of this policy: Satara, okay, Jaipur, Sambalpur, Bhagat, Udaipur, Jhansi, and Jhansi is very famous for Rani Lakshmi Bai, okay, and Nagpur. So we will revisit this again when we discuss about 1857 revolt in the next session. So these are the states which became the victims of this policy. So they can ask you in chronological order. So you can remember the year also. They can ask you to align with the year also. So this is a very important policy under Dalhousie. Okay. So you can match it with DD, Dalhousie Doctrine of Lapse. So many people have confusion between Doctrine of Lapse and Subsidiary Alliance. So D, Dalhousie Doctrine of Lapse. Subsidiary Alliance under Wellesley. But whose brainchild is Subsidiary Alliance? It is a French governor, Dupleix, not Wellesley. Okay. So I hope this is clear. Now next is 1848 to 49 period. Okay, 1848-49 period. The Second Anglo-Punjab War. The first war actually discussed before, Second Anglo-Punjab War. It is very famous. The first one was in 1845-46 time. Okay, so before I have done this discussion, so in the first war, after the war, Punjab was actually forced to sign a treaty, that is the Treaty of Lahore. So Punjab was forced to sign the Treaty of Lahore, and it was a kind of humiliating treaty. Okay, so the actual reason for the Second Anglo-Punjab War is this treaty. So actually because of this treaty, Punjab was under the control of East India Company after the first war because of this treaty. So in fact this treaty is the reason for the Second Anglo-Punjab War. So the importance of Second Anglo-Punjab War is Punjab actually lost completely. Okay, so Punjab lost Second Anglo-Punjab War and the British actually annexed Punjab. So I've told you already, annexation is actually happening in different dimensions through wars: Anglo-Maratha War, Anglo-Punjab War, Doctrine of Lapse. So different annexation of Awadh was for entirely different reason, that is misgovernance. That also will be discussed today. So a lot of annexations are actually happening during this time because their policy changed. The reasons I've told you. Okay, so Punjab got annexed. Annexed. Okay, so the king of Punjab this time was Maharaja Dilip Singh, the minor son of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Okay, so after the war, Maharaja Dilip Singh was actually sent to Lahore for his higher education and he was granted a pension of 50,000 rupees. So actually I have told you this, once a king was beaten, he will be uprooted, right? So he will be sending to some other area. So when we discussed about Bahadur Shah Zafar also 1857 revolt, he was sent to Rangoon. When we discussed about Peshwa Bajirao too, he was sent to Vitur. Similarly, here Maharaja Dilip Singh was actually sent to Lahore, and a pension will be granted. So why they are doing it and what all situations they have done it, already we have discussed, so I'm not getting into that now. Okay, so now what is the importance of this? The importance of this is Punjab is now under the complete control of British. Remember, Punjab is a huge territory. The present day Pakistan's Lahore will come here, India's Punjab will come here, Haryana will come here, Himachal will come here. So it's such a huge territory, so it is considered as very significant. Okay, so that is a second important point that we need to discuss under Lord Dalhousie. So third important point that we need to discuss is actually related to railways. Okay, so it is actually Dalhousie who introduced railways, and a lot of positives are there, so there can be questions related to positives, negatives. Okay, so I'll talk about two positives, two negatives. You can connect that and you can write whatever is coming to your mind. Okay, it is completely subjective. And railways in 1853, so from Bombay to Thane, right, 34 kilometer. See, there is no such questions nowadays, but they can ask you the significance, the impact, etc. Okay, so when we talk about the consequences or the significance or the impact of railways, we can talk about positives and we can talk about negatives, right? So when we talk about positives, first we'll talk about positives. So first point that we can write is it connected India. It connected India. See, this for the first time that a Bengali can meet a Punjabi, a South Indian can meet a North Indian, that people can travel, right? So it actually connected India, and that is the reason why you can see after the introduction of railways and after the establishment of universities, that also happened, with the effort of Dalhousie only. So after the in Wood's dispatch, there is a provision for establishment of universities. We'll come to that shortly. I'll come to that. So because of railways and because of establishment of universities and because of certain developments which are actually happening during this time, the nationalism was on the rise. So one of the reason for emergence of nationalism, I could say it is railways, because it connected India. Now people identified the common culture, right? So there was a possibility that people can meet each other, people can interact each other from different parts of the country. So nationalism was on the rise during this time, 1860s and 70s, and it was culminated into the formation of Indian National Congress in 1885. So we will be discussing about that in 1885 in detail, but here what I want to tell you is it connected India. Second positive you can write as it challenged untouchability. Now you have to take a ticket if you need to travel, so everybody is taking the same ticket, the Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra and the Dalits. Okay, so Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they were the Varnas, and the Avarna, Dalit. Okay, so untouchability was practiced. There was a concept of purity and pollution. Between Brahmins and Dalits, this purity pollution is maximum, and that is there among all the caste also. Okay, so now that is going to be challenged, because if you need to travel, you have to get into the train. Okay, and the very rush is there. Okay, so crowded train, so you have to stand, you have to sit, whatever it is, you have to be together. So it is very crowded. So it was a major blot towards untouchability. So it actually challenged untouchability. So that is a second positive. Challenged untouchability. Okay, now the negatives when we are writing, I have taken this actually from Gandhi's, it was actually written by Mahatma Gandhi in his book Hind Swaraj. Okay, so it was published in Gujarati in 1909. It was actually published in Gujarati. So this negatives are mentioned in this book, so that two negatives which I have taken from that. Okay, so first is it ruined Indian industries. Ruined Indian industries, or I would say it led to deindustrialization in India. The same point I've told you in 1813 Charter Act also, it ruined Indian industries, or it led to deindustrialization in India when we discussed about 1813 Charter Act, right? So the reason also I've told you, because now 1813 Charter Act allowed many companies to come in India and they can sell their products in India, so that automatically ruined the life of artisans in India. Now when it comes to railways, because of railways, now all these things are going to each and every corner of India. Okay, even the Indian villages also going to be affected with this. Okay, so the railway is penetrating to each and every corner of India, and even the rural landless laborers, rural artisans, everybody is going to suffer maximum. And because of that, there is no further scope of development of industries in India. Okay, because all the finished products are coming from England. So Gandhi's opinion, it ruined the Indian industry. So this is the opinion of Mahatma Gandhi in his book Hind Swaraj 1909, originally written in Gujarati. Okay, that's the first point. Second point, you can say it led to spread of diseases. Okay, spread of diseases. So certain diseases like plague, which were in Maharashtra and Gujarat, but actually because of railways it spread across country. Nowadays you see corona originated in some country, spread across the country because of international traveling, globalization, etc. right? So exactly in the same way you can write here spread of diseases. So these are the two negatives that you can write about railways. Okay, so railways we have done. Next is in 1853 we need to talk about post and telegraph service. Okay, post and telegraph services. Okay, so now there is no telegraph, okay, but it was one of the fastest mode of communication during that time. So it was first from Calcutta to Agra. Okay, so in 1854 Indian Post and Telegraph Act was passed. 1854 Indian Post and Telegraph Act was passed, okay, in 1854. So remember, Indian Telegraph Act was passed in 1854, but this Post and Telegraph Services started in 1853. Similarly, I have discussed about 1773 Regulating Act. In that there was a provision of establishment of Supreme Court. So Act was in 73, but Supreme Court was established in 74. Here the Act is in 1854, but the service started in 1853. Okay, so this discrepancy you can see some places, but I have stressed it over there so that you won't forget anything. So that's about Indian Post and Telegraph Act. Now, because from this act only, for the first time, the postal stamps in India actually introduced. Okay, the first postal stamp in India introduced. At that time, it was 2 paisa. The cost was 2 paisa. So now what we need is we need to discuss about Wood's Dispatch. Okay, so we need to discuss about Wood's Dispatch. We need to also discuss about Widow Remarriage Act. We need to discuss about annexation of Awadh. We need to discuss about Santhal Rebellion. So what I will do is annexation of Awadh and Santhal Rebellion, Widow Remarriage Act we will cover in a separate video. Here I'll talk about Wood's Dispatch and we will wind up the session. Okay, so I need some more time to cover Dalhousie, so it will go beyond that 40-minute time frame. So I will complete this later. So we have already discussed about doctrine of lapse, okay, and then we have discussed about Second Anglo-Punjab War, then we have discussed about railways, then we have discussed about post and telegraph. Okay, now we are going to discuss about Wood's Dispatch and the 3 topics which will be left pending, that is the annexation of Awadh, okay, and Santhal Rebellion, and then Widow Remarriage Act. So this I will do in the next session. So here we will wind it up by discussing the Wood's Dispatch. So let me go to Wood's Dispatch. See, there is a problem with the time. Okay, so time constraint is there. That's why we cannot complete this discussion. So Wood's Dispatch 1854. Okay, so it is named after Charles Wood, the then president of Board of Control. We have discussed about Board of Control. Okay, Board of Control was established in 1784, Pitt's India Act. We have discussed that. Okay, so he was the president of, Charles Wood was the president of Board of Control. Later he became the Secretary of State once this institution of Board of Control was abolished and Indian Council Office will be set up. We'll be discussing about all those things later after the 1857 revolt. So Charles Wood, who was the president of Board of Control, who wrote a letter to the then Governor General Lord Dalhousie, and that's what Wood's Dispatch. It is suggesting certain reforms in the education. So when we talk about education, this is one of the most important reform. Okay, so it is known as Magna Carta of modern Indian education. Before, we have also talked about 1813, something we have discussed, right? The company was directed to spend rupees 1 lakh for the purpose of betterment of education in India. And then we have discussed about Macaulay Minute 1835, where the emphasis was on higher education. The higher education should be given in English model and in English medium based on the principle of trickle trickle-down or downward filtration theory. Now here, Wood's dispatch, the first and the most important point here is that education for masses. Now everybody is going to get education, okay? So it is the responsibility of the state to provide education to masses. So education to all, or mass education, okay? So education for all or mass education, and that is a responsibility of the state. The problem with Macula Minute is state did not took up any responsibility. In fact, state was given the responsibility to that 1% of Indians who's getting education in English model and in English medium, but that never realized. Trickle down never happened, okay? So here education was taken up by the state, and that is why it is recognized or understood as Magna Carta of modern Indian education. Magna Carta is a famous order which was issued by an English king way back in 1215, and this Wood's dispatch is actually compared it with Magna Carta by most of the historians, okay? So second one, secondary education should be given importance, okay? So secondary education should be given in vernacular language, and higher education should be given in English. So higher education as decided in Macula Minute, exactly the same will continue. So higher education should be in English. So here you can see they are focusing on secondary education. So secondary education should be in vernacular language. So Macula Minute, they are focusing on higher education. Here the focus is on secondary education, but even now the problem with primary education is there. So you can see that problem will be solved in the next reform, that is Hundar Commission, okay? So actually instead of going from bottom to top, they are coming from top to bottom, right? First higher, then secondary, then primary, instead of going from primary to secondary to higher, okay? So that is the second point. Third point, technological colleges to be established. Technological colleges to be established, okay? And you can see during Dalhousie period, 2 technological colleges were set up. In 1854, the first engineering college at Roorkee, okay? So first engineering college was established at Roorkee in 1854. Now it is IIT, okay? So during Vajpayee time, when he was a PM, it was actually shifted or converted to IIT. Second was in Bihar, Pusa Institute of Agricultural Sciences, okay? Pusa Institute of Agricultural Sciences. Now it is in Delhi. Actually, originally it was in Bihar. Now it is in Delhi because in 1934 there was an earthquake in Bihar, so it was actually shifted to Delhi. So this is a second point, which is again very important. Now the third point, if you see, or 3 points we have discussed now. Now the fourth one is actually universities to be opened. I've told you just before. So universities to be opened. So you can see the 3 universities which were opened in 1857, where it was established or where it is opened. The 3 presidencies, Calcutta, and then Madras, and then Bombay, okay? So 3 universities were opened at Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. So universities to be opened. Then there should be teachers training program. Fifth one, teachers training program. So it is not only the students who need to be taught, it is the teachers also need to be taught properly, okay? So teachers training program. So the 5 provisions under Wood's dispatch that you need to remember: education for all concept, education for masses is now the responsibility of the state. That's why it is known as Magna Carta of modern Indian education. So if you get a mains question that Wood's dispatch is considered as Magna Carta of modern Indian education, apart from writing all these 5 points that anyway you need to write, you have to stress on this particular point, and that is the reason why it is known as Magna Carta of modern Indian education, not because of all these. There's a main point, okay? Education for all is now the responsibility of state. State took up the responsibility of giving education to the Indians. Then secondary education should be in vernacular language, higher should be in English, which has to be continued. Technological colleges has to be established, the first engineering college at Roorkee, and then in Bihar, Pusa Institute of Agricultural Sciences. Universities to be opened, and you can see universities were opened at Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras in 1857. That became the hub of, in their point of view, anti-national activities, and in our point of view, nationalist activities, okay? Nationalism emerged along with railways and universities, and along with some reactionary policies of Lytton during 1870s. We will discuss that, like Vernacular Press Act, Arms Act, lowering the age of civil services, etc. Then teachers training program also to be done. So teachers also need to be taught the way they are going to teach the students, etc. So that's about this session. In case if you have any doubt, you can get in touch with me here. That's my Instagram ID. So this is my Instagram ID, Zia Safir. Okay, the same itself is my Telegram channel. You can search this name in the Telegram and you can join over there. You'll get all my videos over there. In case if you want to attend my complete classes, okay, the live classes, you can contact me. If you need to attend any formal program with me, this is my number, 9790 892 697. Whether it is sociology optional or history or ethics or post independence or any program or the complete course, mentorship, answer writing program, anything. Okay, so see you guys. Thank you.